April 6, 1945, Okinawa. A U.S. Navy destroyer picks up radar contacts, dozens of them, incoming fast. The alarm sounds, battle stations. Every gun crew scrambles to their position. They know what's coming. Kamikaze, suicide pilots, men who won't pull up, men who won't miss. Men who will fly their planes directly into your ship, even if you shoot them. The first wave appears on the horizon, 20 planes, diving. The ship's guns open fire, tracers light up the sky, shells explode. But the planes keep coming, closer, closer. The gunners are aiming directly at the targets, finger on trigger, eyes locked on. But they're missing. Over and over. The planes are too fast, too close. By the time the bullets reach where the plane was, it's already somewhere else. 3 kamikazes hit the ship. 47 men die. Another 200 wounded. And the gunners are asking the same question every crew in the Pacific is asking. How do you hit a target that's trying to die? This is the story of how the U.S. Navy learned to stop aiming at kamikaze planes and started aiming at where they were going to be. It sounds simple, but it took thousands of deaths to figure out. And when they finally got it right, the kamikaze threat dropped by more than half. This is the story of leading the target, and why aiming at what you see will always make you miss. Let's go back. October 25, 1944, the Battle of Leyte Gulf. The Japanese Navy is losing, they know it. Their aircraft carriers are sunk, their experienced pilots are dead. They're running out of fuel, running out of time, running out of options. So they try something desperate. Vice Admiral Takejiro Onishi proposes a new tactic, Tokubetsu Kogekitai, Special Attack Units, Kamikaze, Divine Wind. The plan is simple. Load a plane with explosives, fly it into an American ship. Don't come back. It's not a tactic, it's a sacrifice, a one-way mission. But here's what makes it terrifying. It works. The first kamikaze attack sinks the escort carrier USS St. Lo. 1 plane, 1 pilot, 1 ship destroyed. 114 Americans dead. The U.S. Navy has never seen anything like this. You can shoot down bombers, you can evade torpedoes, but how do you defend against a pilot who doesn't care if he dies? How do you intimidate someone who's already accepted death? You can't, and that psychological advantage is devastating. Within weeks, kamikaze attacks become systematic. Hundreds of pilots volunteer. Some are experienced. Most are barely trained teenagers with maybe 50 hours of flight time. It doesn't matter. They don't need to land. They don't need to dogfight. They just need to aim their plane at a ship and hold the stick steady. The Americans call them bandits. The Japanese call them heroes. And they're sinking ships at an alarming rate. By early 1945, kamikaze attacks account for nearly half of all U.S. Navy ship losses in the Pacific. Destroyers, cruisers, carriers, even battleships get hit. The USS Bunker Hill takes 2 kamikaze hits in 30 seconds, 393 men killed. The ship barely survives. And here's the problem. American gunners can't hit them, not reliably, not consistently. They're firing thousands of rounds, filling the sky with metal, but the kamikazes keep getting through. Here's why. Traditional anti-aircraft gunnery is designed for level bombers, planes flying straight and level at high altitude. You calculate their speed, their altitude, their heading. You aim ahead of them, you fire. It's mathematical, predictable. But kamikaze pilots aren't flying level. They're diving at 300 miles per hour, sometimes 400, sometimes more. They're accelerating as they dive. Gravity is pulling them faster. And they're not flying straight. They're weaving, jinking, making themselves harder to hit. So American gunners do what they're trained to do. They aim directly at the plane, put the crosshairs on the target, fire. But here's the problem. A 40-millimeter anti-aircraft shell travels at about 2,800 feet per second. Sounds fast. But a kamikaze diving at 400 miles per hour covers 587 feet per second. In the time it takes your shell to travel 1,000 yards, the plane has moved 200 feet. Your shell arrives where the plane was, not where the plane is. You miss every time. And the kamikaze keeps diving. Now imagine you're a gunner. You're 19 years old. You've been firing anti-aircraft guns for 6 months. You're exhausted, sleep-deprived, terrified. You see a Zero diving toward your ship. You know what's about to happen. You aim, you fire. You see your tracers going right toward the plane, but the plane doesn't explode. It doesn't even flinch, it just keeps coming. Because your bullets are arriving half a second too late. Half a second. That's the difference between a hit and a miss. That's the difference between living and dying. And you don't know what you're doing wrong, so you keep aiming at the plane, and you keep missing, and more ships keep burning.
The Navy brass knows this is a problem. They start analyzing combat reports, studying gun camera footage, interviewing survivors. And they realize something. The gunners who are hitting targets aren't aiming at the planes. They're aiming ahead of them, at empty sky, at where the plane will be, not where the plane is. It's called leading the target, and it's not a new concept. Duck hunters do it. You don't shoot where the duck is, you shoot where the duck is going. The same principle applies to aircraft, but there's a problem. Leading a diving kamikaze is exponentially harder than leading a level bomber because the plane is accelerating and turning, and you have maybe 3 seconds to calculate the lead, aim, and fire before the plane hits your ship. There's no time to think, no time to calculate. You have to do it by instinct, by feel, by muscle memory. And most gunners don't have that training. So the Navy creates a new training program. They call it deflection shooting or lead computing. They build simulators, moving targets on tracks, planes on wires. They drill gunners for hours, days, weeks. Don't aim at the target, aim ahead of it. Track the plane, lead the target, fire. Over and over, until it becomes automatic, until aiming at empty sky feels natural. And they teach a specific technique. Watch the plane's flight path. Estimate its speed. Aim 3 to 5 plane lengths ahead. Fire a burst. Adjust based on where your tracers go. It's not perfect, but it's better than aiming directly at the plane. Much better. But here's the psychological problem. Every instinct in your body tells you to aim at the target. You see a plane, your brain says, shoot the plane, not shoot the empty space in front of the plane. It's counterintuitive. It feels wrong. It feels like you're missing on purpose. And in the heat of battle, when a kamikaze is diving at your ship at 400 miles per hour, Your training has to override your instincts. That's hard, really hard. Some gunners can do it, some can't. The ones who can't keep aiming at the plane, and they keep missing. The ones who can aim ahead, and they start hitting. Spring 1945. The new training starts paying off. Gunners who've been through deflection shooting courses are hitting targets at much higher rates. Combat reports start showing improvement. Bandit destroyed at 1,200 yards. Splash One at 2,000 yards. Ships that have retrained their gun crews are shooting down 2, 3, 4 times more kamikazes than ships with old-school gunners. The word spreads through the fleet. Aim ahead, lead the target, don't shoot where it is, shoot where it's going. And slowly, the kamikaze kill rate starts climbing, from about 15% in late 1944 to over 40% by mid-1945. That's not luck. That's training. That's doctrine. That's thousands of gunners learning to ignore their instincts and trust the math. Let me give you a specific example. USS Laffey, April 16, 1945, off Okinawa. This destroyer gets attacked by 22 kamikaze planes and bombers in 80 minutes, 22 aircraft, 1 ship. The gun crews have been trained in deflection shooting. They know the doctrine. Lead the target, aim ahead. The attacks come in waves. The gunners fire continuously, barrels overheating, shell casings piling up. They're aiming at empty sky, 3 plane lengths ahead, 4 plane lengths, adjusting on the fly. They shoot down 9 kamikazes, 9 out of 22. But 6 still get through. 6 kamikaze hits, 4 bomb hits. The ship is on fire, listing. Half the crew is dead or wounded. But the ship doesn't sink. And here's the key. Without deflection shooting, all 22 planes would have gotten through. The ship would be gone. But because the gunners aimed ahead, because they led the target, they cut the attack effectiveness in half. The Laffey survives, barely, but it survives. Now, let's talk about the technology that made this easier. The Mark 14 gun sight. It's a computing gun sight for anti-aircraft guns. You track the target, the sight calculates lead automatically. It tells you where to aim. You just keep the crosshairs on the target and the sight adjusts for speed, distance, and direction. It's basically doing the math for you. Ships equipped with Mark 14 sights have significantly higher hit rates. But here's the thing. The sight only works if you use it correctly. You have to track the target smoothly. You have to trust the computer. You can't override it and aim at the plane directly. Some gunners trust it. Some don't. The ones who trust it hit targets. The ones who don't. It's that simple. By summer 1945, the U.S. Navy has mastered deflection shooting. Kamikaze attacks are still deadly, still terrifying, but they're no longer unstoppable. The kill rate is over 50% on some ships. More than half of attacking kamikazes are being shot down before they hit. And the ones that do get through are often damaged, off course, hitting less critical parts of the ship. The psychological edge the Japanese had in late 1944 is gone. American sailors know they can defend themselves. They know they can hit these planes. They just have to aim at empty sky. And that confidence matters. It keeps morale up. It keeps gun crews sharp. It keeps ships fighting.
August 15th, 1945, Japan surrenders. The kamikaze attacks stop. In total, kamikaze attacks sank 47 Allied ships and damaged about 300 more. Nearly 5,000 sailors killed, thousands more wounded. But here's what the numbers don't show. How many ships were saved because gunners learned to lead the target? How many lives were saved because someone figured out you have to aim ahead? We'll never know the exact number, but based on the improvement in kill rates, it's thousands. Thousands of sailors who went home because their gunners aimed at empty sky instead of at the plane. Here's what makes this story so powerful. The solution wasn't better guns. It wasn't more guns. It wasn't bigger explosions or advanced technology. It was training. It was teaching gunners to ignore their instincts, to do something that feels wrong, to aim at nothing and trust that the target will fly into their bullets. That's hard. That's counterintuitive, but it works. And the gunners who learned it survived. The ones who didn't. It's that brutal. It's that simple. Leading the target. It's not just a gunnery technique, it's a metaphor. You can't hit what you're aiming at if your target is moving faster than your reaction time. You have to anticipate. You have to predict. You have to aim at where the target is going, not where it is. This applies to everything: business, relationships, life. If you're always reacting to what's already happened, you're always going to be too late. You have to think ahead, aim ahead, be where the future is, not where the present is. The kamikaze pilots were brave. Misguided, fanatical, tragic, but brave. They flew into certain death because they believed it would save their country. It didn't. But they did it anyway, and for a few months they had the U.S. Navy terrified. Until American gunners learned one simple trick. Stop aiming at the target, start aiming at where the target will be. That one adjustment changed everything. It turned gunners from reactive to proactive, from victims to hunters, from helpless to lethal. And it saved thousands of lives. The next time you're facing a problem that keeps beating you, ask yourself, am I aiming at where the problem is or where the problem is going? Because if you're aiming at what's already happened, you've already lost. You need to aim ahead, lead the target, shoot at empty sky, and trust that your target will fly into it. That's not luck, that's skill, that's training, that's discipline. And it works. The kamikazes taught the U.S. Navy a brutal lesson. You can't defend against an enemy who doesn't fear death. But you can defend against an enemy who flies in a predictable path. And once American gunners learned to predict that path, to lead the target, to aim ahead, the kamikaze threat dropped dramatically. Not because the pilots became less committed, not because the planes became less dangerous, but because the defenders became smarter. They stopped reacting and started anticipating. They stopped aiming at what they could see and started aiming at what they could predict. And that made all the difference. April 6, 1945. That destroyer I mentioned at the beginning? After the attack, after the fires are out, after the bodies are counted, the surviving gun crews gather on deck. They're exhausted, traumatized, grieving, but they're also learning. The gunners who aimed at the planes missed. The gunners who aimed ahead hit. And the next time the kamikazes come, they'll know what to do. They'll aim at empty sky. They'll lead the target. and more of them will survive. That's the lesson. That's the takeaway. Don't aim at where your target is. Aim at where your target is going and pull the trigger.